does the administration have any evidence that it was rigged, as the president said? And will you be presenting that to the American public?
Well, the evidence is that there have been a bunch of revisions.
It is amazing to me witnessing in real time Donald Trump's decisions, his insanity, his absolute detachment from reality, and his expecting us, the expectation of the rest of us also living in that space. He wants you to believe that him firing the commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics was because she got something wrong. Yet, Tulsi Gabbard, who got something much bigger wrong, who actually got it wrong if you listen to Donald Trump, because the person who's in charge of the Bureau of Labor Statistics didn't get anything wrong, just did her job, but it didn't square well with what Donald Trump's propaganda was, so she has to go. And Tulsi Gabbard, who he says got something wrong, it's so important, so critical to the national security apparatus of our country that she should be gone, whether or not Iran had a nuclear program and was actively seeking to advance their position security-wise in the world with nuclear weapons. That seems like a fireable offense, right? Something so serious that you could get wrong. Let's do this. Let's juxtapose these two statements. Here is what Donald Trump said on Friday, very brief clip, 5, 6, 7 seconds, of why he fired the commissioner for the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
Why did you fire the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics?
Because I think her numbers were wrong, just like I thought her numbers were wrong before the election.
She was wrong. That's why he fired her. And here he was just a couple of months ago talking about Tulsi Gabbard related to her being right or wrong when she disagreed or when he disagreed with her take, and the overarching consensus of our national intelligence gatherers and security specialists. He disagrees with them as well, but she still has her job. Remember this.
What intelligence do you have that Iran is building a nuclear weapon? Your intelligence community has said they have no evidence that they are at this point.
Well, then my intelligence community is wrong. Who in the intelligence community said that?
Your director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard.
She's wrong.
Right. One is there to support his propaganda. The other, I guess, Democrat appointed by Biden, so she's got to go. This is not about who's wrong or right or who agrees with Donald Trump or who doesn't. It's who's going to be there to be a sycophant, who's going to be there to I'm really trying to keep it PG and professional here. Who's going to be there to be the lapdog? Who's going to be there to unquestioningly advance the propaganda and lies of the dear leader, Donald Trump? Obviously, that's Tulsi Gabbard. That's not the commissioner, the former commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Donald Trump, yesterday at 4:16 p.m. Eastern time, got on Truth Social and again is some kind of a, they do this on a Friday, so hopefully the news will go away, but Donald Trump is still trying to keep this going because there's so little that's able to distract from the fact that he was best friends with a child trafficking, child abusing, child raping monster for nearly 2 decades that he's still trying to distract from that. But he posted this on Truth Social. Head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics did the same thing just before the presidential election when she lifted the numbers for jobs to an all-time high. I then won the election anyway, and she readjusted the numbers downward, calling it a mistake of almost 1 million jobs. A scam, says the old man. She did it again with another massive correction and got fired. She had the biggest miscalculations in over 50 years. Now, we're going to get to this of exactly why everything he said there was wrong. The context, the details, everything. It's not he's generally right, but some of the details are a little off. None of it. It's all just wrong. It's a lie. Either he's so addled and demented that he can't tell the truth from reality, or he's a liar. Either one seems to be a disqualifier to be president of the United States. He sent his chief economics advisor, Kevin Hassett, out to the Sunday shows, and he was on with Kristen Welker on Meet the Press, and they had this exchange about her firing. And even this guy, who's absolutely just humiliating himself on a daily basis, claiming that the hard evidence for her firing was her adjusting the numbers, which is something always that happens. When they get new information, when they get new statistics, when they get new data, they revise their earlier findings. They do so we have accurate numbers to go on. Here's Kevin Hassett absolutely prostrating himself before the dear leader.
Just to be very clear, does the administration have any evidence that it was rigged, as the president said? And will you be presenting that to the American public?
Well, the evidence is that there have been a bunch of revisions that could appear to partisans. Oh, I mean, the revisions are hard evidence. There, for example, there was a 818,000 revision making the Joe Biden job record a lot worse that came out after he withdrew from the presidential campaign. There have been a bunch of patterns that could make people wonder. And I think the most important thing for people to know is that it's the president's highest priority that the data be trusted and that people get to the bottom of why these revisions are so unreliable.
Well, let me ask you about what will...
The revisions are not hard evidence. Full stop. And the thing Donald Trump is claiming, as I said, isn't true. Not in spirit, not in letter, none of it. It's just a lie. Or, like I said, he's so demented he doesn't know the truth from reality. Or he's so stupid that basic things, maybe it's a combination of all three. I don't know. But this is from The Guardian. Here's the headline. Trump defends firing labor statistics chief by lying about her role in the 2024 campaign as it happened. Days before the election, she came out with those beautiful numbers. This is a quote from Donald Trump. We could skip that. So anyway, they're addressing this entire narrative, right? At the time, the Trump campaign called the jobs report a catastrophe that definitively reveals how badly Kamala Harris broke our economy. Remember, Kamala Harris, the vice president of the United States, who apparently was the president, right? I mean, if we were to blame J.D. Vance for destroying the economy, what would MAGA be saying right now? Well, J.D. Vance has nothing to do with anything. Right. But only Kamala Harris apparently had outsized power within the previous administration that this vice president doesn't have. Makes a lot of sense. On Friday, however, the president offered a very different account of that report released just 9 months ago. Quote, blah, blah, blah. This is what he said. We've also read the tweets or his posts. What Trump was misremembering is a Bureau of Labor Statistics announcement on 21 August 2024 that updated data showed that there had been 818,000 fewer jobs added to the U.S. in the previous year than it had initially estimated. That downward revision was large, but part of an annual process in which the Bureau updates its initial estimates when it gets better data. Just what I just said. The same day that revision was announced in 2024, Trump, who was then recalibrating his campaign to focus on Kamala Harris, posted on Truth Social that the Biden-Harris administration had been, quote, caught fraudulently manipulating job statistics, and the, quote, new data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that the administration padded the numbers with an extra 818,000 jobs that do not exist and never did. On Friday, however, Trump repeatedly insisted that the August revision had not come until after the November election. Before leaving for another long weekend of golf, Trump repeated his false claim about the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. He had just fired to another reporter. And then again, he said before the election, Trump recalled wrongly, she gave out the numbers that were so good for the Democrats. It was like, oh, unbelievable. So look, Donald Trump's wrong about this. He's lying about this. Even if it is that he's just confused and doesn't understand it, it's disqualifying to be president. It's disqualifying to be someone who is so intimately controlling of our economy, usurping power from the Congress, who has the power under the Constitution to negotiate trade relations and treaties. But the Republican Party, they want to exceed power to him. I don't know if it's an effort, one, just to be sycophantic cult members, or that when things go south, they can cut bait with him eventually, we hope. Eventually, we hope. And then blame him for the damage, even though they've all signed on to this time and time and time and time and day after day after day after day. I don't know. But what I do know is Donald Trump is not a reality-based individual. Donald Trump is blaming his firing because she told the truth and gave numbers that he didn't like, that show the damage being done by his trade policies. That our economy is softening, it is weakening, it is worsening, directly related to what Donald Trump is doing. It's a tax increase on the rest of us. And now they're trying to float rebate checks to the American people, or at least the non-Biden voters, if you listen to Josh Hawley, because of the tax. That's not a tax, but what do they need a rebate from if it's not a... Yeah, make it make sense. Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this conversation. You can comment below. You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. You can also email me daily at dollemore.com. I'd love to hear from you. You can also, if you have it in you, if the spirit moves you, you can help support this work, help produce this work by clicking the join button below this video on YouTube and become a channel member on that platform. There's also some mechanism on Facebook you can do that. I don't know much about that yet. I'm getting it figured out. And my Patreon page, patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. I'll see you next time. Be genuine, live in reality, and take care of one another.